Grant, welcome back yet again. Second appearance this week. Love recording a back-to-back with Mr. Grant Hughes of Bleacher Report. How are you doing since the 30 seconds ago when we last spoke?
Oh, so much better. And also so much worse because we just talked about a bunch of teams that won games and are still alive. And now we're going to talk about some losers.
Yeah, we are here to get into our biggest question. We've done it for the eliminated teams in the first round. We have to do it for the eliminated teams in the second round. Our biggest questions for every team that was bounced during the semifinals. Where did you want to go? I will let you pick of the four teams where you want to start.
Well, first of all, of the four, at least three are incredibly interesting. But I'm going to go alphabetical because I believe in order and organization. And so
You
we're
know
going to
that's
start with
that's like my weak point too, is the alphabet.
you
Terrible.
got alphabet. Well, we have botched the alphabet on record several times on this podcast. So yeah, actually, as I was saying that, I was thinking to myself, so does Memphis come before Milwaukee? Am I 100% sure on that? Even if it doesn't, we're gonna go with that. We're gonna do the Grizzlies. I think the Grizzlies are a super interesting offseason team.
I was going to say that they probably had the least interesting offseason ahead of them, though. No?
Well, it's all about the potential. So I think so. My big offseason kind of question that is will they take their shot, because they can be among the very few teams. There's a half dozen, I think, depending on what Portland does, that have like consequential cap space. It would have to come it would only be about 20 million, and it would have to come at the cost of Kyle Anderson and Tyus Jones not coming back.
Mm.
So that might be where the conversation ends. That'll probably be where the conversation ends, because I think, at least in the case of Jones, I mean, he showed enough that you probably need to bring him back and hope that you can beat the market for him, because he's going to be in demand. But so they've got that potential to clear 20 million. They've got a couple firsts in this draft. They've got 8 in the next 7. They've got the full MLE. They've got the biannual, a trade exception worth about 4 million. And so they just have these options, right? Like, if you want to package a star, I'm sorry, not a star, but if you want to take Steven Adams or Dylan Brooks, both of whom will be on expiring deals next year, throw them in with one of those picks in a trade for a player making more to come back, you can do that because you're going to have that 20 million in space. You can have an unbalanced trade. So you can sort of star hunt. You can get like even more creative with sign and trades for some restricted guys. I don't think DeAndre Ayton necessarily is a fit or really is plausible. Miles Bridges is probably a little too rich, but I just think they have these options, right? And they have to kind of look closely at what they might be able to do this offseason, which sucks because there's not a lot of talent available this year. Because once Morant signs the full max, which he will, that'll be another thing that happens this offseason. You basically, like, next offseason, you're not really going to be able to do too much unless you figure out a way to trim money elsewhere or don't bring Adams or Brooks back. I don't know. But so this is kind of a pivot point for the Grizzlies. I think they should just kind of run it back, bring Jones back, even Anderson. They can extend Jones. I think I had it written down. They can go 4 years for 55.8 million if they do it before June 30th. Just keep him off the table entirely. That's going to beat mid-level exception offers he could get from other teams. So that's at least a competitive offer. They may just do that. I think that's fine. But I am intrigued because maybe they think they're one more star away and they could kind of swing for one to the extent that one is available in kind of a weak market.
I would be with you on that question as well, is just what does this team need? Was basically, what do they actually need to take the next step? And are they willing to go after it? Or are they just going to bank on internal development, getting them there? But you just finished with the second best record in the West. I think that the Grizzlies, after doubting them the past 3 seasons, I think they'll be back. But you can't take anything for granted in the West either. The Nuggets and the Clippers should be healthier this season. What if the next season, the Pelicans are coming? They get Zion Williamson back to a team that really pushed Phoenix in the first round. What if the Lakers don't suck? Portland might make some big, like, there are just wild cards peppered through. Yeah, Utah could blow it up, fine. There are just wild cards peppered throughout the West where you can't, I think, just say, okay, well, Zaire Williams is going to be another year better. We have Desmond Bane. Jaren Jackson Jr. really got it together. We'll bring back Tyus. We'll bring back Kyle Anderson. And we'll be fine, and we'll be right back in the top 4 of the West, and maybe even higher. I just don't think they can bank on that. You would really have to believe, because I don't know how much better is Desmond Bane going to get. He was their most important player for pretty much the entire postseason. Uh, Jaren Jackson Jr. is fantastic. They still feel one significant player short. Is that player Zaire Williams? It does feel like that player needs to be. And that's where they run into the issue with free agency, is why it might not be the most effective use of their resources, that it needs to be another creator type. Half court, put the ball on the floor. You're asking a little bit too much of Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. It definitely should not be Dylan Brooks on a game-to-game basis to do that after after John Morant, or if he's not on the floor, or if he's just having an off night, or if teams are really throwing the kitchen sink at him. So that player isn't available on the market. I think Zach LaVine would be a fantastic fit, but we've also reached a point where it's any of those transactions feel like they're going to happen through sign and trade anyway. So I'm with you, where I think it's very important to bring back at least Tyus Jones, if not Kyle Anderson as well. Did any names spring to mind to you when you were thinking about if they were going to take this swing? Because look, they can do it without prioritizing cap space. You laid out their assets. They have a bunch of middle rung deals. And this is a team where I would say your three most important players moving forward are Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., and John Morant. I don't think you need to put any of those three on the table to go after who realistically might be available this time. You're not giving up any of them for if it was a Zach LaVine sign and trade, or if it was a Beal sign and trade. And yes, I know those players need to want to play in Memphis, yada, yada, yada. But like, that's the move that would be uncharacteristic of the Grizzlies, but it's the one that they are built to make. And I think you can, if you're the Grizzlies, talk yourself into making because of just where you were this season.
Yeah, that's where this gets, when you try to take it from the hypothetical, well, they've got these options. So like practically what should they do? What could they do? There just isn't that guy that I think, like someone like a Jaylen Brown. I feel like he's been rumored, as not as like someone that could happen, but like that's a fit, right? The Celtics aren't going to trade Jaylen Brown for, a couple firsts and DeAnthony Melton. Like it's not going to happen. I think you could, if Jeremy Grant would be potential, but I don't know like how much better yeah, right. It's not what they need. So I think you bank on organic growth. I think ideally you just want someone that has Dylan Brooks's frame, that doesn't have his shot selection, and then like can pass a little bit and you're good. But like, who is that? I don't know. I think Williams getting better is a huge like path forward for them. But yeah, so it's maybe they fall last on my list of like most intriguing, because all of their intrigue is potential and hypothetical, and not like really grounded in, they totally could go get this guy. I don't have that guy.
I think they're more likely to do, and this would not make them better. Like, they're the team that they'll run it back and they trade for Alec Burks, or they trade for Kenrich Williams. And I'm not, if you get more improvement from Zaire Williams, you can't talk me out of the fact that there's a chance they might be significantly better. Just with an Alec Burks type on this team, I'm not saying he's the guy, but someone who's semi-comfortable creating his own shot, doesn't always need the ball in his hands. That adds another dynamic to their offense. He's probably a little bit smaller than you'd want, but like those just super strength, like power wings, whatever you want to call them, they don't grow on trees. But I would fully expect Memphis to, whatever we're talking about, I would argue they're going to do less than like
yes
of that. I don't think they're going to do the bare minimum. They're too good. I think they're too good to be like, let's just run it back. Like, there needs to be, I think, like some material change here, but I think it's going to be on the sub middle end of the spectrum.
Yeah, I agree.